It gives me great pleasure now to bring on board Charandeep Singh, founder and managing director of Greek Capital, and his co-founder Varun Daga. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us. All right, guys, India Mart is at 5,200. Let me see who smiles more. Will it be Varun or will it be Charandeep?
Good morning. Nikunj, how are you?
I was hoping for a slightly more, energetic start, guys. India Mart is at 5,200. I'll say it again. Fantastic to have you back. I'll talk about why you liked some of the platform companies, but let me first get a broad market view from you. What's going on? Are you comfortable with the kind of market valuations and the levels we are staring at?
Yeah, hi. I'll just start with a quick quote, a very famous quote from Sir John Templeton. I'm reading it. So, he says, bull markets are born on pessimism, grow on skepticism, mature on optimism, and they die on euphoria. I think this is very, very relevant. And I just, I'm sure Varun has some things to say, but I actually believe that this is so relevant for times like ours, because we've gone through such a great cycle of optimism and then pessimism, probably skepticism now, So I think, maybe we should take some inspiration from that quote of Sir John Templeton. Very hard to predict markets, but so I won't really comment on that. But, I think that what's being said here is very relevant by him.
Okay, now, Varun, Sir John Templeton believes in buying fear and greed, but Howard Marks, also a global guru, has the following to say about global markets. There is no cynicism. There is a lot of optimism. Everybody is buying as if they are going to miss a train. So while it's good to revisit Sir John Templeton, Howard Marks is saying that there is a bubble in making in US tech stocks.
It's very possible. These are all great gurus. But what we believe is that, you have to, of course, keep an open mind. What we hear, whoever you talk to on the street, everybody is like, how is the market going up? The economy is in a bad shape. How is the stock market going up? So that's usually a great sign for the market, because nobody can make sense. And there are not enough reasons to believe that, market should go up. Many people say, I would short the market. And why is Reliance going up so much? There is no reason for it to go up. So these are all good signs. Having said that, of course, in the short run, there could be a bit of euphoria. But we believe that over a longer period, the way the bull market is playing out, the way we've come out of this crisis, and how companies are performing, and how leaders are actually showing strength, even in terms of numbers, not just price. It's quite amazing how they have adapted to the change. So that's what we are looking for. We are not great predictors of market, but we will try to follow it and do the best we can.
Chandeep, if I scan through your portfolio, you as a fund house are following a very differentiated strategy. What you are doing essentially, and correct me if my interpretation is wrong, you're morphing your portfolio to the new world, which is a Reliance, a Bharti, a India Mart. Basically, what you're telling the world is that you are very bullish on the so-called platform companies and the way how the world has taken a digital leap. There is no cement, there is no auto, there is hardly any traditional IT services. What you right now have are the new age digital businesses.
Right. Actually, Nikunj, that's a really good observation, because we were having our Monday morning call in the office yesterday when we were going over our portfolio. What we typically do is we set aside some time to look at portfolio concentrations, industry concentration. Are we well balanced between small, mid, and large cap? How many illiquids do we have in our portfolio? We go through this risk management exercise. which is very important, and we do it in a very process-driven and disciplined manner. One observation that came to the fore between the two of us, or rather between our team, was that a lot of our companies are, so to speak, digital ready. You know, if you look at many of them, they are great companies. They have superb leadership, great management, no governance issues. They are true leaders with accelerating earnings. But you know what all of these companies have done over the years? They have invested far in advance of not knowing a pandemic was coming. They've invested in great IT. They've invested in great HR personnel. They've invested in ensuring that they're always digital proof, IT enabled and technology ready, such that they can take leadership when the tough times come. So it's very easy for such companies to take market share at a time like this. The large is Darwinian. The large get larger. And I think this is a time when, unfortunately or fortunately, that is happening. So I think great observation on your part that, yes, a lot of the platforms that we are invested in are digital ready. You know, as far as you said some of the old economy stocks, I would like to just take a step back and say, you know, that in fact, I believe I remember even in our last conversation, we discussed some of these names. They were very early on our screeners. These companies were throwing up very early for their leadership and their earnings potential and the earnings growth that we expect from them over the next several years. So not only these companies are digital enablers, they also came up very early on our screener for the quality of earnings momentum that they are showing. So, you know, in a sense, yes, it's all come together pretty nicely and the portfolio has a lot of these digital leaders. It's not really by design, I would say. As far as old economy stocks are concerned, you know, no, I mean, I'm sure they will have their time. I don't know. As of now, we don't necessarily see them as real money-making opportunities. But, you know, let's not call them old economy stocks. I think IT services stocks aren't necessarily old economy stocks. They also benefit from the pandemic. You know, the sector, it's showing up very regularly on our screeners. It's just a question of what to buy. Something has to fit all your criteria and something has to make money for the investor. And that's really why we do this. You know, the eye is on the bottom line. It's not our own ego or our own thesis. The ultimate aim is to make money for the investor.
That's a great point. Never lose sight of risk and never lose sight of opportunity. Varun, I'm just trying to understand for the benefit of our viewers, the stocks which you own, how are you really valuing them? Because if I use the traditional tool, the favorite tool which all of us use is PE, price to P multiple. Based on that, let's say Jubilant or India Mart, some of these stocks will be qualifying as expensive stocks, yet you like them. So how are you valuing them and why do you think they still have scope to make money?
Sure. Great question, Nikunj. And I think it's one of the most talked about topic, which is the PE ratio. You know, I mean, everybody is so micro-focused on PE ratio. But, you know, I think there are many ways to evaluate a stock. A high PE does not mean it's expensive. Low PE does not mean it's cheap. You know, so there are a lot of times, you know, we look at a high PE stock and we say it's very expensive. But what we really need to understand that, okay, today's high PE stock, can it be much cheaper 5 years down the line? Most of the people miss the biggest winners, and including some of the great investors, because it looks expensive on the face of it. It looks expensive in terms of the PE ratio. Many people don't even get through the company, don't even start analyzing the company and the fundamentals of the company because it looks expensive on the PE multiple. So we differentiate in that way. What we do is, before even getting in terms of the valuation, we first establish leadership. And we totally recommend that before getting to valuation, one must establish leadership, the potential of the growth, the scope of the growth of the company, the management quality, the governance. I think most of these, when we tick all these criteria, you realize that the stock is still expensive, right? You in a PE multiple basis. But what happens is when you get into the fundamentals and you realize that, okay, look, the leadership is huge, the size of the opportunity is massive, and this company could be, you know, probably 5 times the size in the next 5-7 years. So when we look at that, I think that the PE multiple is a very, very small part of the puzzle. What we need to understand is how big that company could be. What is the scope of the opportunity? So, for example, let's look at Reliance. When we first bought it, it was maybe around 8-9 lakh crore market cap. And what happened was that we started seeing this ARPUs going up. And just a simple math when we did about Jio, that, okay, he's at 40 crore subscribers. Can he get to a 60 crore subscribers or 50 crore subscribers in the next 5 years? And can the ARPUs go back to 300 levels, which was there 5 years ago? So can the ARPUs go back to the same level in 5 years, which was 5 years ago? If that happens, you could be seeing profit as large, a cash profit as large as 1 lakh crore just from Jio alone. So whether that happens in the next 5 years, 3 years, or 7 years, that is one needs to evaluate. But the scope of opportunity is big. Whether the ARPUs go to 300 or 500, that's need to be seen. But the scope of opportunity is very big. So if a Reliance can earn a 1 lakh crore, that at a 9 lakh crore, it's very cheap. That's just for Jio. Then there is retail, then there is petrochemical. So this is what we need to see first, and then come back to the valuation part, that, okay, what price you want to buy it, what levels you want to buy it. But I think establishing leadership and the scope of growth is the first step we look at.
Great point.